I was speaking to a gentleman named Alan Fruitman, and he has been focused on triple net lease properties for a couple decades. He is a broker, so his business is centered around connecting investors who are looking to be completely passive or almost completely passive. Nothing's completely passive in real estate, I don't think. But almost completely passive by taking their money and investing in triple net lease properties. So like a Dollar General or a Walgreens or a restaurant or an auto parts store, something like that. And the one of the things I found interesting, it's fun for me. It's fun to talk to investors who, or in this case, a broker who are focused on areas that I'm not focused on and areas that I don't talk to people much about. Triple net lease is not an area that I interview a lot of people on. So I find that very interesting. And one takeaway that I got from this conversation was that I was asking him about triple net lease, and I asked them, okay, are there any ways to add value to triple net lease properties? And he said, nope, not my thing. I don't do that. I focus on properties that are more coupon clipping properties and opportunities. And I said, okay, well, what are some other asset classes that you've worked on? Nope, I don't work on any other asset classes. I only work on triple net lease properties where the cap rates are around 4 to 6%, and they're completely passive investments. Okay, well, what are some other things that you've done? Nope, I don't do. So he was very adamant about he stays in his lane. He has focused for a couple decades on triple net lease properties for investors who are looking to get into that. And I appreciate that and I respect that, because what I found with our deals, Ashcroft Capital's deals, is when I speak to investors, they who have not invested with us before, they ask me, do you do anything other than apartments? And my answer is always no. And they might ask, okay, well, have you ever done or would you do ground up development? And my answer is emphatically no. And the reason why is because I've realized just power and focus. And certainly Alan has taken that to an extreme, or rather he's doubled down on it, I should say, not to an extreme, but he's doubled down on it because he's been doing it for decades. And that's what I really love. And it just reinforced in my mind the importance of owning a certain category and really focusing on that, because the reality is we can make money in any type of asset class with most strategies, because as long as we're experts in that asset class and in that strategy, whether it's a value add play, whether it is taking a completely distressed property and stabilizing it. But the key is to be very, very good, or I should say exceptional at it. And in order to be exceptional, we've got to have a lot of practice. So this insight really rings true for anyone who jumps from one thing to another. And there certainly could be a healthy debate from value-add investors who say, I don't focus on a certain asset class. I just simply focus on being a value-add investor. And I have interviewed a handful of people. I've interviewed over 1,600 people. So only a handful of people who classify themselves as value-add investors and not focused on a certain asset class. And it works for them. But my opinion is that's the exception, not the norm. And for the vast majority of us, being focused on one area, assuming that we're active, not passive investors. If we're passive investors, then that's a different story. I think it's easier to focus on multiple areas because you're not the one executing the business plan. But if we're active investors focused on actively doing the business model, then staying in our lane and focusing on our one asset class with our one type of business plan is what I found to be the best way to set us up for success as investors.